So next up, we're going to talk about new purchase onboarding. So this is when you actually have purchased a new home and you're like, hey, what do I do next? Like what is this thing in my possession? So I want to talk a little bit about this. Obviously, it's going to be case by case, but again, this is why you actually invested in yourself and join this program, because I can help you with understanding some of the specifics for your scenario, right? Or I can do the best I can to help you and point you in the right direction. But we're going to talk about that. But again, if you have any questions, the email address is always here, info@mosesthementor.com. But again, if you're at this point, like truly in life right now, and you're onboarding a property, I want to say congratulations. If you're just here for educational purposes at this moment, hey, it's coming. It's coming. It's a great feeling when you do it, but it's even better when you have someone like me on your side that can really kind of guide you through the process. So let's talk about a few things, right? So now essentially there's two things that the one thing you got to figure out, right? Is it a vacant property or is it an occupied property? And there's pros and cons to both. If it is a vacant property, I've grown to love those better, right? But obviously, if it's vacant, you're not getting any income. There's no income at all. So you pretty much, incurring those costs out the gate. But you have full access to the home to make the necessary repairs. If because typically, like again, we want to buy the home that needs a little bit of work, some TLC, so we can get the best ROI for it, return on investment. So you're able to go in there, secure the property, do everything you need to do to make the home habitable. If it's not, put your little touches on it or whatever the case may be. But if you have a property that is occupied, we will only this is my recommendation is to only purchase a property that already has a Section 8 tenant, because then otherwise, it's just pretty much going to put you in the position that, you're buying a property and then, you got to worry about when this person leaves. Don't even put yourself in that position. Our goal is to have 100% Section 8 properties, 100%, right? So if you inherit a property, inherit a tenant from a property that you've purchased, and they are a Section 8 tenant, there's some pros to that, because the good thing is that at closing, if you're due any rent, that is a part of your closing costs. So that will come to you in the form, well, it'll be deducted from your closing costs. So let's just say, the closing happened and it's the second of the month, and the landlord has already received payment from the government. They have to return that to you. So it would be a part of the closing, and it'll be deducted from your closing costs. They also, there's an easy process to transfer the ownership of the property to a new owner. It's pretty easy. Like once you have an established tenant in there, the housing authority will transfer the account to the new owner pretty seamlessly, and that's something that before you take this property over, you want to make sure that your realtor is working with the other side to say, hey, at closing, we must, have proof that this has been transferred over. And typically, they're just going to want, obviously your name. They're going to want direct deposit information, things of that nature. I've never had any issues with a transfer of ownership with an existing Section 8 tenant. Never had any problems, so don't worry about that. But you do want to make sure that that's done beforehand. Now, worst case scenario, what if it's not done, Moses? Okay, cool. All you would have to do is contact that housing authority and say, hey, this wasn't done correctly. Moses sold me the home. He didn't do his paperwork. But as you can see here, I'm the new rightful owner, and they would take it from there, right? But you don't want to have to go through that headache. Get that done during the actual process leading up to the closing. And that's really on the existing owner to help facilitate that process. Okay. So the benefit of having an existing tenant is that you would actually have rent from day one. The con is two. There's two cons that I've experienced. Number one, the way that existing landlords manage their properties is not the way that I will be teaching you guys to manage their properties. They typically don't charge market rent. And the reason why they don't charge market rent, I can't really break it down to any other reason other than just being lazy. Okay. So if they have the a sufficient amount of rent and they don't want to go through the paperwork, they don't want to go through it, they'll just keep it going. But the whole point of, benefiting from this program is that you are entitled to market rents. You just simply have to refresh it every year. So you might get someone who's paying $1,000, right? But it might be a $1,400 apartment. So, you know, if that person is on a lease and it might be 8 months, you need to know that. It's like, oh, it's the 8 month lease. Okay, so I gotta have market rent for 8 months until I can increase it. So ideally, you want to get a Section 8 tenant that you inherit that's on a month to month lease. That's what you want. Um, Typically, when folks are looking to sell their home, they don't like to renew leases. So I would say probably 80% of the time that I purchased a home with a tenant, they were month to month. And I appreciated that wholeheartedly because what that means is from the moment I get, ownership of the property, I can start my process of increasing the rent. And I'll definitely go through that in detail in later lessons. Because if that person was charging 1,000 and I can get 1,400, I can start that process ASAP. But if that person is in a lease, like I mentioned earlier, for 8 more months, I'm literally losing $400 times eight. That's $3,200. So I want you guys to consider that when you're doing your full analysis, when you're doing your due diligence. Those are things that are really going to eat into your profit. Are you willing to, you know, um, be paid below market rent for 8 months for this property? Got to ask yourself that. If the deal was good enough, then absolutely. But if it wasn't, then no. So that's it. And then the last con of having an occupied residence is, you can't get you won't have easier access to fix stuff, but on the flip side, if it's someone living there, it's obviously habitable. So, but that's one of the things. I talked about it already. You want to know the existing lease terms for someone who's already there. If it's vacant, one of the first things you want to do is secure the property. So if you're a local to the property, you put a lockbox on there. If you're not, you want to get someone maybe that you trust that's on the ground. It could be family member or whatever, or you can just hire a handyman. You can hire a company, whatever you want to do, locksmith, but you definitely want to secure the property. Long story short, as they're going to give you keys at closing. If you're out of state, they're going to say, hey, who you want us to mail the keys, or is it someone I can hand the keys that's local? So again, all case by case scenarios. Some people fly in to get the keys. So again, be flexible. And again, any questions that's specific to your issue or your circumstances, I'm here for you. And then lastly, I talked a little bit about that already. Some rent increases for inherited tenants. It's so much better when they're on month to month because at that point you can change the terms. Um, is it the best experience when the first interactions you have with someone is, hey, how you doing? I'm going to increase the rent? No, but it's a whole lot easier because it is Section 8, because the majority, if not all, of that increase is not even coming directly from their pocket. But, ideally, you wouldn't want that to necessarily be your first introduction. But, if you're inheriting the tenant, that's, you just got to do what you got to do out the gate, and then you can build a better rapport with them over time. And we talk a lot about rapport building and tenant landlord communications later in the course, because I do feel like that's important, and you're probably going to hear more about that than with me than any other investor, because having great communications with your tenants is ideal. Because I do feel like your tenant is your business partner. If they're in good shape and they want to stay, the cash flow goes up. So we'll definitely talk more about that. All right. So that's really this lesson when it comes to new purchase onboarding. It's really the two paths, whether it's an occupied residence or it's a vacant one. Vacant, you can jump right in, you can get your team in to get the work done. If it's occupied, you get the rent right away, but potentially you might have to, um, depending on lease terms, you might have to wait some time before you can get market rent. And even if you can increase the rent, Section 8 rent increases take anywhere between like about 2 months, 1 to 2 months, but probably closer to 2 months. So that is it for this lesson. And, again, if this is actually happening and you're onboarding a property, congrats. And if you're just going through the course right now, keep on trucking. You'll get there.